In their respective pieces, What is the Proper Way to Display a U.S. Flag and Rebuild South Central, artists Dred Scott and Mark Bradford use found materials and communal participation to center community voice over hegemonic systems of law and corporate capitalism. In Lewis Gordon's analysis of Frantz Fanon, he comments that essential in interrogating epistemic colonization, which endows whiteness with an inherent power, is the demystification of the mythical white power and a centering of democratic voice. As myth is upheld by the material world, Scott and Bradford demystify the white nationalist power in America and recenter the voices of the people by appropriating and altering material signifiers of power. What is the proper way to display a U.S. flag? A 1988 work by American artist Dred Scott invites viewers to share their own answers to the question posed by the title. Via his strategic positions of the material elements, Scott encourages but does not require the audience to walk on the American flag to record their responses. Above the flag hangs a print of coffins of American soldiers returning from Vietnam draped in American flags, which centers the flag as an emblem of death and pain. This image prods the audience to consider their own associations with the flag and examine and reproduce their own feelings about it as part of the work. When displayed high-flying on a pole, the American flag is a material signifier of American power and domination over space. By laying the flag on the ground, Scott asserts that the American flag is a mundane and flimsy symbol of hegemony that loses power when decontextualized from its typical placement on the phallic and authoritative flagpole. In this work, Scott centers his own subject position by highlighting what he, as a black man, believes is the proper way to display an American flag. In laying the flag on the ground, Scott rejects the white nationalism embodied in the American flag. Notably, in doing this, Scott subverts the rule of law, which, in accordance with the later overturned 1968 Flag Protection Act, made it illegal to desecrate the American flag. By putting the flag on the ground, but not blatantly defacing it, Scott strategically counters the forced patriotism in the American law and rather centers the voices of the American public. By giving voice to the public through the invitation to interact with and respond to his piece, Scott represents America as a constitutive entity created by the people who inhabit it and separate from the hegemonic symbols of power and the white nationalist rule of law that govern it. His work is a hopeful and futuristic representation of an America centered on the voices and actions of citizens rather than the blanketing and silencing of the flag. By laying the flag on the ground and transferring power from its materiality to the voices of the audience, Scott effectively demystifies the power we assign to the flag and thereby reveals the fragility and changeability of the materials used to uphold American hegemony. Artist Mark Bradford used found materials such as scraps from billboards and flyers to create his work Rebuild South Central. The 2015 piece refers to his hometown of South Central Los Angeles and reads, "Rebuild South Central without liquor stores" in English and Spanish. The text is based on a photograph Bradford took in 1992 after the Rodney King riots, where an unarmed black man was violently beaten by the LA police, sparking protests throughout the city. Bradford's work directly responds to this act of forceful white nationalist domination codified by the rule of law. By using materials and words literally forged from the streets of LA, Bradford presents work that is rooted in communal solidarity. Billboards are ubiquitous signs of capitalism encroaching on public life, but Bradford uses the disintegrating fragments of these corporate capitalist advertisements to call for a rebuilding of his own community. The use of found text centers the communal needs and desires of South Central Los Angeles, thereby creating a piece that represents the community as constituting specific demands, including the destruction of corporate capitalist systems. Bradford's use of bright color and playful block text impart a sense of joy and hope, reminiscent of uplifting communal celebration. The piece's scrappy appearance hints at its scrappy origins, yet shows that through using discarded elements of the capitalist system, Bradford has created a new colorful world and a poignant call to action. Through this piece, Bradford reclaims space dominated by liquor stores and billboards alike and imagines his community as vibrant and conscious. In these pieces, both Scott and Bradford manipulate material signifiers of power in public space to create hopeful visions of communal creation. Both the American flag and corporate billboards are displays of hegemonic power, be it state or capitalist, which remind viewers of the the systems of domination which govern the public spaces they occupy. Through their transgressive use of these material signifiers, Scott and Bradford both demystify the idea of these legally codified symbols as permanent and untouchable, and create works which highlight their dreams of a future centered on the voices and needs of their community.